An inscribed angle is an angle with its vertex on the circle with two sides that are chords. An intercepted arc is the arc that lies between the endpoints of an inscribed angle. The degree of the inscribed angle is equal to half the measure of its intercepted arc. So, an inscribed angle has two endpoints, and the vertex has to be also on the circle. It does not go through the center of the circle. It's going to, just like we said at the beginning, it intercepts the arc, so it's intercepting that arc right there. So the measure of angle ABC is going to equal to 1/2 the measure of arc AC. I personally would rather write it as the measure of arc AC over 2. Going down to intercepting a diameter, so which means that this is intercepting right through the center. So it's actually part of the angle, kind of looks like a triangle. There is a right angle right there. So if the inscribed angle intercepts the diameter being BC, so okay, then this is what's going to happen. So if an inscribed angle intercepts the diameter, then it is a right angle, which means that angle BAC is 90 degrees. For overlapping arcs, if you can see that this angle right there cuts off that arc, and then this angle cuts off the exact same arc. They cut off this arc right here. Two inscribed angles intercept the same arc, then the angles are congruent. So measure of angle ABD is equal to the measure of angle ACD. So let's do a couple of problems. So if we're looking at number 1, we know it's an inscribed angle because the vertex is attached to the side of the circle. If that's the case, then we know that the measure of angle WXY is going to be half of the measure of arc WY. Okay, so what is the measure of arc WY? It's 62. Divide by 2, we get 31. Now, if it gives us the angle, so we get the angle right here, we know that the measure of angle DEF is going to equal half the measure of the arc DGF. So we know that the measure of the angle is 113 degrees. I'm going to make this x a little easier. How do we solve for x? Multiply by 2. Now we'll go back to the measure of angle DGF is going to equal 226 degrees. Okay, pause the video. Do numbers 3, 4. Do 3 and 4 right now. So hopefully you paused the video. There's your answers for 3 and 4. Let's look at number 5. If KL is 65, KJ is 53, how much does the circle add up to? 360. So we know that 360 degrees is going to equal 65 degrees plus 53 degrees. And I'm going to make this guy over here x. How do we solve? We subtract all that good stuff. Take this, subtract it there. So we know that x ends up being 242. Okay. So we need to, this was the measure of arc JML. Okay. So now we want this angle right here. So we're going to take that. So the measure of angle JKL is going to be 242 degrees divided by 2, which is 121. For number 6, okay, for number 6, we're going to look at, now, here's the thing, guys. You got to look, okay, well, they gave us this, they gave us that, and they gave us that. What is this right here? Well, if you add all those up together and then subtract it by 360, so we'll do this really quickly. 360 equals, we'll make that x. X plus 75 plus 64 plus 139. We end up getting 82, so x equals 82. And it wants the measure of angle RST, so RST, which is that angle we have. Is it smaller or bigger? Smaller or bigger? So we have 82 degrees. Try that again. We want the measure of angle RST is going to equal the measure of arc RT over 2. We have the arc, so it's 82 degrees divided by 2, which gives us 41. Okay, and then if we look at our UT, so our UT, it ends up cutting off the same one, so it's 41 degrees. All right, so moving on, we now have 7 and 8, so we're going to look at these, and we want to solve for x, so we know that this right here is going to be half of that. So the measure of angle CDE is going to equal the measure of arc CE over 2. So the measure of the angle is 8x minus 9. The measure of the arc is 158 divided by 2. So how do we solve this? Well, 158 divided by 2 is going to be 77. Add your 9. 8x equals, wait a minute, it's not one. Nope, this is 79, not 77. Okay. Let's see. This gives me 88 divided by 8. So x equals 11. Now, if it was to say, okay, solve for x, but then tell me what the angle is, so you would do the measure of angle CDE is 8 times 11 minus 9. And you go from there. Or you could just half the 158, which is 79. Okay? All right, so you guys do number 8. Pause the video, do number 8. Please try it. Don't just watch what I'm doing. Okay, so look at the work, see how I did it. See what can be done. Otherwise, go to the next page. So pause it if you need to see it. All right, let's figure out which one we're going to do. We're going to go to number 13 here. And actually, let's do 12 first. Okay, so if we're looking at 12, we know this arc, we know this arc, we need to figure out this arc, right? But we still need to solve for x. So knowing this, okay, the angle is going to be half that arc. If we want to find the arc, if we do 2 times the 67, we're going to get 134, which is the arc. So we know that 360 is equal to 120 plus the 134 plus the 5x plus the 21. So combine like terms. Let's see, we have the 5x. And what do we got here? Let's see, these two together give me 254. Those together will give me 275. Subtract the 275. So we get 85 equals 5x. Divide by 5. So x equals 17. Okay? Okay, let's go to the next page. So let's look at, it doesn't matter. Let's look at 15. The biggest thing you need to do is make sure that you label. So the measure of angle ABD, so the measure of angle ABD, okay, ABD, if that guy right there is 6x plus 26 degrees, the measure of angle ACD, okay, so that angle right there is 13x minus 9. Find the arc, which is find this arc right here. So what do we know about intersecting arcs? They're equal. So 6x plus 26 equals 13x minus 9. If we do the math, which I know all of you guys can do, you get x equals 5. Okay? But we want to find the measure of that arc. So in order to do this, I need to get rid of, so I can see. We want to find, so we definitely do want to find this arc right there. So if we plug it into one of them, it doesn't matter, one of those, doesn't matter. I'm going to choose the 13 times the 5 minus the 9, which gives me, so that's 15, so 65 minus 9, what am I, 56, okay? That's just the angle. That's just the actual angle right here. Okay, that's the angle. What do we have to do to that in order to find what the arc is? Well, we know that the arc is going to be twice that. So we're going to do 2 times the 56. That's going to give us the 112 degrees. measure of arc AD. Let's look at, let's go up to 14 since I didn't do it. Should. Let's see. The measure of angle STU, so this guy right here, is 5x minus 16. Okay. The measure of the arc SU is 12x minus 50. Remember, the angle is going to be half the arc. So 5x minus 16 equals 12x minus 50 over 2. You have to do the plug-in. Right here, this is your plug-in. You have to. If you don't do it, I'm marking points off because that's where all the mistakes come. So please, please, please. So if we go to solve this, we're going to multiply by 2. And we get 10x minus 32 equals 12x minus 50. And if we go through and solve that, so take this that way, take the 50 that way, and we get 18. Let's go over here. 18 equals 2x, divide by 2, x equals 9. And it wants the measure of angle, STU. So the measure of angle STU is equal to 5 times your 9 minus your 16. Which equals 29 degrees. Okay, next page. Inscribed quadrilaterals. So you got that quadrilateral inside the circle. If a quadrilateral is inscribed in a circle, then its opposite angles are supplementary. Meaning 180. So if we look over here, we know that the measure of angle A plus the measure of angle C is going to equal 180. The measure of angle D plus the measure of angle B is going to equal 180. So let's look at 1. We'll just start off with 1. It's a quadrilateral. It's a 4-sided figure inside of the circle. L and J are across from each other. So L and J are going to be supplementary. Let me make this color here. These two are going to be supplementary. And then these two are going to be supplementary. So 180 plus 92. Nope, let's try that one again. Hopefully you guys were stopping. 180 equals 92 plus the measure of angle J. So subtract your 92 and you get 88 degrees. And then 180 equals 45 plus the measure of angle K, which ends up being 135. Now, if we throw in, let's look at 4. If we throw in arcs and all this other stuff, remember, this arc cuts off that angle, and you have to add these two together. So to find angle D, the measure of angle D, that's going to equal 39 degrees plus 61 degrees, which ends up being divided by 2, sorry, which will end up being your 50 degrees. So let's get rid of that now. Okay, we've got this right here, okay? So, hold on a second. If we know what D is, wouldn't B right here be supplementary to it? Of course it would. So the measure of angle B plus D, which is 50, equals 180. This guy down. So if you subtract your 50, you get 138. Or no, wait, 130, sorry. So I'm going to start putting this stuff in here. So that's 130. This one is 50. Okay. If this right here cuts off that, we know that this is 130, and that's going to be half this arc. So we could figure out what AD is here by our angle, which is 130 degrees, is going to equal, let's label that X. So X plus 147 divided by 2. What room to solve. So for this one, we're going to multiply by 2 to both sides. So we get 260 equals X plus 147. Subtract the 147. So we get 111. So that's right here. Oh, 113, sorry. 113. So to find C, okay, we need to, okay, again, I'm going to erase all the stuff up here so we don't get totally confused. But let's see, I got to put this one back. This right here was 113. So we have all the arcs now to be able to do this. Grab this together. There we go. Oops, not. Okay, no, put that off just a sec. So to find C, let's look at C. That cuts off right there. So we know that the measure of the angle C is going to be half of the two arcs together. So the measure of angle C is going to be 113 plus the 39 divided by 2, which ends up being 76 degrees. If that's 76 right here, and angle D was 50, and this one was 130, to find A, it's going to be supplementary to C. Subtract that, and we get 104 degrees. All right. I do not know about that page. I do. Let's go to the next page. Let's look at 9. Looking at 9. So the measure of angle W right here, okay, is going to be 5x plus 1. The measure of angle Y, which is this guy, is 13x minus 37. What do we know about those two angles? They are supplementary. So 5x plus 1 plus 13x minus 37, that equals 180. If you solve that down, you get x equals 12. We want to find the measure of angle y, which is your 13 times your 12 minus your 37. So the measure of angle y is going to equal 119 degrees. Okay, that's it.